It's all right. I'll take care of you.
In modern-day Scotland, two American tourists visit a local pub. Inside, they take a close look at the famous photograph of the Loch Ness Monster. An old man tells them that the photo is a fake, but insists there's more to the story than they realize. The couple sits at his table, eager to hear the tale. The story begins in 1942, during World War II. A boy named Angus MacMorrow stares out at the waters of Loch Ness. He fantasizes about wading through it, but his daydreams quickly turn into nightmares of drowning. In reality, Angus avoids the water. Instead, he spends his time collecting shells along the shoreline, thinking about his father, a sailor in the Royal Navy. His father once told him that the loch was a strange and enchanted place. While searching, Angus discovers a large, strange-looking egg buried in the sand. Curious, he decides to take it home. Soon after, his mother and MacMorrow finds him and orders him to return home. Together with his older sister Kirsty, they head back to their manor house near the loch. Eager to keep the discovery a secret, Angus hides the mysterious egg in his father's old garden shed. In private, he crosses off another day on the calendar without his father's return. He carefully washes the egg, revealing a glowing blue shell beneath the dirt. Later, as the family gathers for dinner, the egg begins to shake on its own. That night, Angus hears a strange noise. Peeking through the window, he notices that the shed door has been left wide open. When he investigates, he discovers that the egg has hatched. In the darkness, a small, alien-like creature scurries around, hiding from him. Angus eventually earns its trust by offering a potato, and when he notices the creature has a cut, he gently bandages it. Promising to take care of the strange animal, Angus vows to keep it secret from everyone else. The next morning, Angus and his family spot military vehicles approaching the manor. Believing his father has returned, Angus rushes out with his mother and sister, only to be met by Captain Thomas Hamilton of the Royal Artillery. He explains that the house will be requisitioned for a military operation, as the troops prepare for a possible German invasion. Meanwhile, the creature tears apart the shed in search of food. Wanting to protect his father's belongings, Angus brings scraps from the kitchen. When the army cook, Sergeant Strunk, refuses to give him anything, Angus steals a garbage bin and drags it to the shed. The creature dives in happily, eating everything inside. Angus decides to name him Crusoe, after the character from Robinson Crusoe. As Crusoe grows, Angus realizes he's no ordinary animal. Remembering his father's tales of a legendary creature said to live in the loch, Angus begins to suspect Crusoe may be that very monster. To keep him alive, Angus fills a bin with water so Crusoe can swim. But danger looms. Soldiers patrol the grounds, and Angus fears what will happen if Crusoe is discovered, and hires Lewis Mowbray, a handyman, to help with chores. She suspects Angus is hiding a pet in the shed and asks Lewis to deal with it. When Angus sees Lewis clearing out the garbage bin, he panics, afraid that Crusoe will be found. That night, a now larger Crusoe wanders into the manor house, only to be chased by the military's dog Churchill. The chase leaves chaos in its wake until Crusoe eventually hides in Kirsty's bathtub. Terrified at first, Kirsty eventually agrees to keep his secret, and later confides in Lewis that Angus's father has been missing for over a year. His ship sunk during the war. She worries Angus still clings to false hope. Meanwhile, Lewis discovers Crusoe for himself. He explains to Angus and Kirsty that, according to Celtic legend, a water horse is a one-of-a-kind creature. When it grows old, it lays a single egg before dying, and the cycle begins again. Lewis advises Angus to release Crusoe into the loch where he belongs, but the boy refuses, insisting Crusoe should stay with him. During a grand military dinner hosted by Captain Hamilton, Crusoe escapes his hiding place and is once again chased by Churchill. The chaos spills into the banquet hall, leaving destruction behind. To protect Crusoe, Lewis takes the blame. Hamilton becomes suspicious, and defends Lewis, who insists he was only trying to stop the dog. Later, Lewis helps Angus sneak Crusoe outside. By now, the creature has grown far too large to hide. Angus finally sees that Crusoe belongs in the loch, not in the house. Reluctantly, he agrees to set his friend free in the waters where he truly belongs. Lewis and Angus drive to the loch to release Crusoe back into his natural home. Meanwhile, Captain Hamilton waits in the shed for Lewis and orders him to stay away from Angus, believing the handyman is a bad influence. Out on the water, two fishermen accidentally hook Crusoe. Their tiny boat is dragged violently across the loch until, terrified, they cut the line to save themselves. Back at the manor, Hamilton takes Angus under his wing, determined to turn him into a disciplined soldier. But after days of strict training, Angus breaks free from his oppressive routine and runs back to the loch. There, he finds a now fully grown Crusoe, who greets him joyfully. Although Angus is still afraid of the water, Crusoe convinces him to climb onto his back. They dive beneath the waves, and after initial fear, Angus learns to trust his friend. For the first time, he overcomes his fear of the water. When they surface, Angus notices a massive metal net being set up across the loch, a military trap meant for submarines. Later, the army's dog Churchill breaks free and chases after Crusoe. Angus convinces Crusoe to hide just as Sergeant Strunk arrives. But Strunk spots the creature slipping beneath the surface. Angus confides in Lewis and Kirsty, thanking Lewis for always making him laugh. Overhearing, Captain Hamilton is shocked to learn that Lewis actually has a spotless record and is considered a hero. Meanwhile, the fishermen boast in the local pub about the sea beasts they hooked. The villagers speculate that such a discovery could bring tourists and money. The next day, the fishermen return to the loch with a camera, hoping to capture a photograph of Crusoe. At the same time, Captain Hamilton takes and the children to witness military cannon testing on the loch. Angus desperately tells his mother about Crusoe, with Kirsty backing him up, but refuses to believe them. Moments later, cannons are fired into the water, several shells exploding dangerously close to Crusoe. Angus rushes to stop the bombardment, infuriating Hamilton, who tells her son needs discipline. The family is sent home. Believing Crusoe may have been killed, the fishermen fake a picture of the Loch Ness Monster, which later becomes the famous surgeon's photo. For weeks, Angus is punished, locked in his room every evening. When the photo appears in the newspaper, Sergeant Strunk confirms it looks exactly like the creature he saw. Sergeant Walker vows to hunt it down. One night, Kirsty and Lewis secretly free Angus from his room. Together, they head to the loch. Angus calls out for Crusoe, but the creature, traumatized by the bombardment, rises angrily. He roars, snaps at Angus, and nearly bites off his hand before vanishing into the depths. Drawn by Churchill's scent, the soldiers arrive with harpoons. Crusoe resurfaces and, in a fit of rage, kills the dog before capsizing their boat. The soldiers send out an SOS, which Hamilton mistakes for a German attack. Panicked, he orders Kirsty into the basement. At the loch, Crusoe terrifies the soldiers until Angus tries to intervene. But he slips, falls underwater, and loses consciousness. Crusoe dives down and rescues him. On shore, Lewis manages to revive the boy. Hamilton drives to the loch, giving orders to fire at anything in the water. As Angus recovers, he recalls his father's final words to be strong and brave. Crusoe, calmer now, surfaces beside him. When and Hamilton arrive, Angus insists Crusoe is harmless. But the soldiers mistake Crusoe's long neck for a submarine periscope and open fire. Determined to save his friend, Angus climbs onto Crusoe's back, pleading with the soldiers not to shoot. As cannon fire rains down, Hamilton and Lewis rush to the metal net. Realizing Crusoe is trapped, Angus finally understands he must let his friend go. Tearfully, he releases Crusoe, who dives into the water. Summoning all his strength, Crusoe charges the net, destroying the military equipment before disappearing into the depths. The next morning, Anne Lewis and Kirsty watch the sunrise over the loch with Angus. For the first time, Angus accepts that his father is never coming home. He finds peace in saying goodbye to Crusoe, who swims off to freedom. With a final triumphant roar, the great creature vanishes beneath the waves. Back in the modern day, the old man in the pub finishes his tale. He explains that while many have claimed to see the Loch Ness Monster over the years, he never saw Crusoe again. The reason, he reveals, is simple. He is Angus. The stunned tourists leave the pub. Outside, a young mother searches for her son, William, who is wandering along the shore. The boy discovers a strange rock half buried in the sand, identical to the egg Angus once found. The cycle begins again.